Hey guys, today we're going to start a new type of series here on the channel. We're going to call it Snakes and Shakes because I'm a child. It's going to be a little bit more of almost like a mini podcast kind of a thing. So it's going to be me talking to somebody or multiple people kind of about reptiles, their interests, and different things about that. So today I'm here with
Ryan.
Cool. And he is very interested in getting a pet snake. You already have a few reptiles already, right?
Yeah.
What do you have?
Leopard geckos, too.
2 leopard geckos? Cool. But he really, really likes snakes. And he's already done a fair bit of research about snakes, too. And he already knows what he wants to get and reasons why he wants to get them. And so we're going to today talk a little bit about, the next step in that. So he's interested. He's done a lot of research, but now he's here talking to me, who's had reptiles for a while and a lot of snakes, and to learn a little bit more. So that way he can be more knowledgeable, so that way he can convince his mom to bring home a snake. So we're going to start off with the exact type of snake that he wants to take.
I would personally prefer a corn snake because that is a very good starter, or a ball python, but I prefer corn snake.
Awesome. So we're going to call this Snakes and Shakes. We're going to start off with some shakes, but what is the biggest key to remember whenever we're handling reptiles?
Hand sanitizer.
All right, so let's hand sanitize up, and we'll get started, and we'll see some cool stuff, and you can just ask whatever questions you want, okay?
Okay.
Cool. So, to start us off, he's already been in a few videos, but this is Sierra, and he is a corn snake. How about him? You got him?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask you every time so that way you have him ready to go. So, like we said, Sierra, he's a corn snake. He's an aneurystic corn snake. And do you know what the aneurystic is? Okay. So, aneurystic is a gene that removes the kind of orange and yellows and browns in the snake. So, you know how normal corn snakes are that kind of orange, cool red color?
Yeah.
When you have the aneurystic gene, which is a recessive trait, which is what a lot of the genetics in corn snakes are recessive, then you get this kind of gray dark snake. And he's not technically a true aneurystic, so as you can see, he has that yellow right there. So there's still a little bit in there, but that's just what we call the gene as aneurystic. So why exactly do you want to get a corn snake specifically?
Because, one, I like the way they look, and two, because they're easy to handle.
Okay. So you've already done some research, so clearly you've already decided, like you said earlier, that you really like the ball pythons too, but you think a corn snake is a better choice. So, okay, so, because you talked about corn snakes, and I think earlier before we started you said a rat snake or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go through and we're just going to show off a bunch of different types of snakes, and that's kind of cool stuff too. So we're just going to see some different things, and if you have any questions or worries, just give them a shout. So, new snake, standing up. So, here's this one. This one's a little special. She was attacked by a cat, and she actually had the back end of her tail bitten off. But they have really great immune systems, and they're pretty hardy little animals. And so she healed up very nicely, and she is doing just fine. But do you happen to know what kind of snake this is?
Corn or rat?
Nope. This is a variable king snake, or a Thayers or Tharii. They have like 19 different names. And the reason why they're called variable is because they can be like 19 different patterns. So that's that polymorphic trait. So what it looks like on the outside. And they're not morphs. They're just different patterns that they have that they developed based on where they are. This one is the tricolor. And so you know why they have this color, right?
The blend in.
The blend in. Or this is actually a form of mimicry. So you know, like the coral snake. And it has those bright colors to tell predators to leave it alone.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of snakes have the same markings like this, that it's a form of mimicry that says, hey, there's this venomous snake out there. You know that thing. You don't want to mess with that. You don't want to mess with me either. And so that's what that is. But these variable king snakes can be all sorts of different colors. They can be solid black. They can be kind of bright yellow with orange spotches and all sorts of other crazy colors and stuff like that. But these guys are they're coming back. I think they're getting a little more popular, but they were really hard to find for quite some time. But, so clearly you're fine with holding different snakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
One question I do have is, like, when to feed it and, like, what size to feed it.
Okay. So that is actually a fairly not necessarily controversial topic, but basically the answer to that is it depends on the type of snake. So colubrids, they are more active. They're moving around a lot more. They're not a sit and wait hunter. They're a, I'm gonna go find it hunter. So their metabolisms are a little bit higher. So they're usually eating more often. But because of that, they don't expand like a python. Like, you know, the pictures on the internet of like the big python that eats the antelope and stuff like that. These guys' bodies can't expand out like that. So they're usually eating smaller meals more often. So usually the kind of rule of thumb that you hear a lot of people is, you know, one prey item a week. We usually do one every 2 weeks to 3 weeks because they're probably not eating all that often, or it's a slightly bigger meal. And so a good rule of thumb is a prey item that's about the width of the body. And so for this guy, an adult mouse is perfect for this thing. He would be just fine. I keep calling her he. We have a male, but this is the girl. An adult mouse or a small rat, although I would probably recommend a mouse because rats are a little more fatty.
Yeah.
Then you would want to feed an adult mouse, and that would be just fine every week to so 7 to 14 days. Now, so this is the type of snake that a lot of people end up getting because, you know, they're really easy. They don't move a lot. You know, we call them pet rocks, right?
Yeah.
So this, like, if you ever get your mom to try to hold a snake, and we'll see if she will today, this is the type of snake that will probably actually get her to hold for a couple of reasons. Number one, like, this thing doesn't even really look like a snake, right? Like, it doesn't even look real. Like, it looks like someone took a coloring book and, like, colored the thing, like, especially that thing. The other one is because they don't really move a whole lot. Like, you can see she's cruising a little bit, but nothing like the corn snake and, like, the milk snake that you're holding. So that's a good intro to that.
Another question I have.
Sure, what's up?
So basically, what is like how do they move?
So it kind of varies from snake to snake, and we'll put her on the ground and we'll see if the camera picks it up. So they move because, you know, like, obviously they don't have legs. So they will use their very, very strong muscles and kind of scoot along. This is super slick and smooth, so he has a hard time moving across. But they will still kind of S along, and they use that to kind of propel themselves forward and from side to side. But if you look, so you can see here, like the ball python, it has really small, smooth scales along the top. But when you flip it over, it has those long, really thick, wide scales. And those are for added traction for all their belly muscles to kind of grip and hold on and actually kind of like crawl along. So if like this ground had a little bit more texture to it, pythons and boas have a tendency to kind of actually crawl. Well, they'll still kind of S along a little bit, but their bellies, their muscles actually sit there, just kind of like do this a little bit across. And then with like a corn snake or a rat snake or a king snake, they rely more on that movement, but they still have those really wide caudal or belly scales to kind of help grip and push them along.
Okay. And then, is there like, how did they evolve, like, really?
Well, there's a lot of conflicting information, and you're hitting a lot of really fun hot topics. Normally, we normally just talk about the reptile topics, but we're going to do this basically purely on science. So, disclaimer, science. This is the scientific theory behind this. So, you know, millions of years ago, you know, all the different animal classification stuff, like dinosaurs, now we find that a lot of dinosaurs are actually, like, related to birds and stuff. Well, there were snakes back then too. Like there was like the Titanoboa. Yeah, exactly. Those eating crocodiles and stuff. And so what happened was essentially, and I'm gonna layman's term this a little bit, is you know, a lizard had smaller legs, and they found that like burrowing or staying close to the ground was more beneficial. So over the years and millions and thousands of years, their legs slowly got smaller and smaller. So like, you know how like blue-tongued skinks, they have really small legs versus like a big monitor or an iguana. It's because they're on the ground more, they move around, they burrow a lot, so they don't need the really long, strong legs. And essentially, that's kind of what happened with snakes too, is eventually they learned that they didn't need those legs and limbs. And so like, for instance, like this spur back here, if you were to x-ray this, you would actually see what that spur is a toe. So if you were to sit there and x-ray this whole thing, you would see the whole foot and leg and limb right there. And that's just something that hasn't quite gone away yet. It's really only on boid species, so pythons and boas and stuff.
Older sea species.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And so as, yep, oh yeah.
Snake mix.
Mm-hmm, you know, you're gonna get snake cuffs is what's gonna happen. She's just gonna wrap you up. As time went on, and like depending on the climate and stuff, the snakes changed a little bit based on where they are. So like the tree boas, they're longer and thinner, and they have longer teeth because they evolved to stay up on the trees. They can't be really heavy because they're on the really long, thin limbs. And then they got longer teeth because they eat a lot of birds and lizards and stuff, and so you have to be able to be fast and have long teeth to grab a bird that's flying by. Like, how often do you catch a fly, right? Exactly. And so that's why they have those long teeth and why they're so responsive, because they live up in trees, where they're in areas where food isn't quite as plentiful in small areas. So they had to start being able to be moving around a whole lot more, and that's where the colubrids evolved to be more active hunters, to be out during the day, to be searching stuff instead of just kind of a sit and wait. And different species fill those different voids. So that's why we still have pythons and boas and stuff, because there are still areas where that particular method of hunting and surviving is still a great way to survive. So they still exist. And in other places they're a little more temperate, or however niche that they fill, that's what works really well.
And I think the final question I really have is,
okay,
what's like the most poisonous snake ever?
So technically, when people talk about poisonous snakes, they're actually talking about venom. And so that's a really, really common misnomer. Basically what the difference is poison needs to be...
If you touch it, you die, then it's poisonous. If it bites you and you die, then it's venomous.
Yes, exactly. So it needs to be passively ingested. And then venomous, it needs to be put into you. So there is actually a species of poisonous snake, and that's called the keelback. They're found in Australia and like Indonesia and stuff, and they become poisonous by eating poisonous toads. And they're the only species that's actually poisonous. The rest are actually venomous. And so when you talk about venomous, a lot of people ask what's the most venomous, and that's the inland taipan or the fear snake in Central Australia. But if you want to talk about like what's the most dangerous venomous snake, you have to talk about a little bit more complicated than just the potency of the venom. You have to talk about
strength.
Yep, size and strength, how often it comes into contact with people, how often the bites occur, and how the disposition of the snake is. So arguably, probably one of the most dangerous snakes in the world would be either the Indian cobra or the Russell's viper. Both of those are found in India. There's a lot of people in there, very heavily populated. A lot of it's kind of rural, and the more they're expanding, the more they're going into those snakes' natural habitats. And the more they do that, the closer they come in contact with them. And so when they come into a snake, the snake's first choice always is to run away. That's always their first choice as defense, is to go, nope, I'm out. Because if they're going to stick around, regardless of what other defense they have, the longer they're there in contact with whatever threat that is, the more of a chance they have of actually being consumed or killed. And then, so after that, that's when we move on to like the cobras. So when at first they can't run away, they're put into a corner. That's why they have that hood. They go, oh, I'm big and scary. That's why rattlesnakes, they rattle. That's, I'm here. I don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. And then their last choice is always to bite, because it's expensive for their bodies to make. It takes time to replenish and to manufacture. And they don't want to do that. That's to help them aid with hunting. It's not really meant to help actually hurt other animals. Yeah, it's not really a defense. It's the last option they want to have. So even like a non-venomous snake, like a python or a rat snake, will actually, yep, he's going to go into your hoodie. Will strike too. But because certain snakes do have very potent venom, as well as they come in contact with people, that's where you run into issues with dangerous venomous snakes. But just kind of being aware of things can really help minimize that. So, we go out field herping all the time. Well, we're going to start doing a little bit more, but, you go out and you'll see lizards and snakes and stuff. And just being able to kind of identify rattlesnakes and the difference between rattlesnakes and bull snakes helps a whole lot, because a lot of people will say if you hear a rattlesnake rattle, it always rattles before it bites you. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never heard of anything that needs confirmation from their butt to bite. And so a lot of times it won't actually happen. But so, bull snakes and hognose snakes, because you talk about hognose a lot, they have that mimicry too, where they look like that rattlesnake. They'll even sit there and wiggle their tails in leaf litter, and it sounds like a rattlesnake. And they do that really big, and they'll sit there and they'll strike and they'll huff and they'll go rah.
And hognose will try and impersonate a cobra.
Yep, they can hood out too. So they have those flexible vertebrae that they kind of flatten out to make them look more intimidating too. And there's some other snakes and stuff that do that too. But that's where just being knowledgeable about stuff is really great. And so, kind of, you seem like really calm and confident about this stuff, and it's because you know a whole lot about them. And, the more you learn about something, the more you understand about something, the less you are to be afraid of it. And I got urate all over me.
Go.
But, okay. So we're going to kind of keep with the theme a little bit, and because, you're really interested in those colubrid species, the corn snakes and stuff like that. This one's a little bit different. So do you know what kind of snake this is?
Milk snake.
That is correct. This is actually a Honduran milk snake. This is arguably the longest and heaviest bodied of the milk snakes. So they're called Honduran milk snakes because obviously they're from Honduras, right?
Yeah.
Big females, they can get over 6 feet long. She's probably like 4.5, 5 feet. It doesn't kind of seem like it because you're supposed to be on him, little girl. This is Iota, by the way. So remember we talked about like the different, like how I had different themes and stuff. This is when I was still doing the Greek letters. So you can see that she's an albino, right?
Yeah.
So normally what color are they like normally found?
Just like, they look like a candy cane.
Yep. So because she's albino, that black has been replaced with white. And then she's actually a type of hypomelanistic, which means that's a reduction in melanin. So there's less dark colors. And that particular type of hypo is called tangerine. And so when you mix the tangerine with the albino, you get this almost no orange and no yellow. It's almost pure white. And yes, I guess we're gonna go out of this together, bud. She's got us wrapped up. But so you can see that. So before you saw that there was that corn snake that was moving around a lot, or that wasn't moving around a whole lot, but she's kind of cruising and stuff. So it really depends on the type of snake and honestly the individual too, because everything is an individual, like how active the snake is, which is why a lot of people like that ball python, but you seem to be a little bit more concerned about like the ease and kind of more stability of the maintenance of the care, and that's why you like the corn snakes and rat snakes and stuff like that. But I actually have more king snakes and milk snakes than I do corns and rats, and so that's why we're taking them out. Yeah, she's gonna go in there. Yeah, she's going to the little drawer. It's fine. We'll just let her do her thing. Oh no! Oh no! Iota! Animal technical difficulties. So we talked about it a little bit, you really like the corn snakes and rat snakes, but I haven't shown you a rat snake yet. I only have one rat snake right now, but I haven't really brought her out at all yet, and she is a scaleless rat snake. Have you ever held a scaleless rat snake before? No. Okay, so you're gonna hold her just like anything else, but as you can see here, we'll take this out of the way, that way the camera can zoom in and can see a little bit better. So she's I know. So she's a scaleless Texas rat snake. And there's a bunch of different types of rat snakes, like Everglades and things like that. But she's a Texas rat snake. And what's cool about the scaleless Texas rat snakes is they're actually usually a little bit darker, a little bit more muddier. But something happens when you remove those top scales, because she actually does still have scales. She has her bottom scales and a couple around her head, where it just crazily brightens it up. And so she's bright orange. She almost looks more like a corn snake than she does a rat snake, although technically they're, kind of the same thing. Making some corn snake people mad out there, but they really are. Just differences in subspecies and taxonomy, things like that. So you can see she still moves and behaves just like a regular snake. She just doesn't have those top scales. Like if you look really closely, she has a couple scales like right on her head. And if you look at the bottom, she still has scales on the bottom. And that is a good thing because remember how you asked about them moving and stuff? They still need those scales to help give them traction to move along. So if they didn't have scales, they still have the muscles, but they can't grip anything. So they basically just sit there and flop around and they can't really move at all. And so they still have those scales, so that then allows them to move and act just like a normal snake. The only thing that you have to consider if you wanted to get a scaleless corn snake, a scaleless rat snake, or even a scaleless ball python, because they have those too. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, is they have scaleless ball pythons. They even have like scaleless pieds and scaleless other things like that, is you need to make sure that their humidity is a little bit higher than you normally would. So like for her, for instance, you saw that we kept the other ones on aspen bedding. She's on coconut because that maintains that humidity a little bit more, And we give her, in all of her different hides, we put extra sphagnum moss in there because that holds the humidity even more. So we keep her set up almost like we do a ball python that needs that over 60% humidity just to make sure that she's shedding and maintaining healthily. But she still behaves, eats just like any other little baby colubrid. And actually, we love her to death because have you ever messed with a baby rat snake before? They're usually really flighty and moving around and kind of really, they're really reactive. They're more reactive to other animals because there's so many things in Texas that can eat them more than anywhere else, and so they're usually very quick to go, ah, don't mess with me. I know there's flies, but she is very sweet and very calm. Cool. So I hope we had a really fun time today. Did you learn anything new or?
Yeah, I learned a lot of stuff.
Okay. Do you think you're going to be able to take this and kind of bring home and maybe make a little bit more of like an educated, not necessarily argument, but explain a little bit more to your mom and stuff, and hopefully that way we can be able to get her to like take home a snake or two, or at least kind of consider things a little bit more?
Definitely.
Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or ask or anything like that?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, cool. Hey, I really thank you for coming over. I'm really glad that you're really invested in this and you want to do this the right way and you have the interests of the animals at heart first, which is kind of why you want to start with the ones that you want to start with. And I'm glad that you're taking this initiative and doing things the correct way. You're the next generation of this hobby and this field, and you're doing things the right way, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm so excited that I got to meet you because you're awesome. You're like looking at a little bit me who has their stuff a lot more together than I did when I was your age. So hope you guys like this video. I had a great, it was great. I had a great time. He did too. I hope you guys like this. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification if you can. I know she's great. Like and subscribe, please. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If there's something you want to see next time, we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, jzsreptiles, just like the channel. Let us know down there. Hopefully we're going to have some ball python eggs cooking soon. You guys can check that out, or just updates or any other questions like that. Hope you had a great time. Please share with your friends, share with your family. These guys, they weren't subscribed to my channel. Hopefully they will after this. But they heard about what we do. They're interested. They came over and they got to learn some new stuff too. And that's what we want. Hope you guys like this, and we'll see you next time.